Hello, everybody. It is great to be here. My name is Gary Fowler. I'm the CEO, president, and founder of GSD, Get Shit Done Venture Studios, premier AI and quantum venture studio located in Silicon Valley. I've been involved in startups for over 35 years and 17 startups. Love artificial intelligence and quantum computing, and we believe that intellectual capacity is evenly spread around the world, but opportunities are not. With that, I've got my incredible guest today from Zemplee, the award-winning company out of Silicon Valley doing remote patient monitoring. And I've got the esteemed CEO, Aparna Pujar, who's here today to talk about her journey from corporate to being a startup entrepreneur and kicking it. So with that, I'd like to introduce Aparna. Hi, Aparna.
Hi, everyone. Hi, Gary. Nice to see you. Nice to be back on the show again.
Yeah, it's great to see you. So, where are you today? Are you in Silicon Valley?
Yeah, pretty much. This is home for us. And, we love being in Silicon Valley. There's a lot of interesting things going on here, especially in AI and quantum computing. And we're happy to see the progress that AI has made over the last few years. And one of the most important areas that it has to address is, caring for our beloved elderly loved ones. And I'm really excited to be, to what that means for Zemple as a company, and also what that means for our customers and people who care for their parents or their elderly loved ones.
So, tell us a little bit about your journey. When did you come to the U.S. for the first time?
I came to the US almost 30 years ago. So now, I've lived in the US more than anywhere else in the world. I'm originally from India. Grew up in India, did my education in India, but came here for my master's and my business degree. And then now, I've worked for some of the iconic Silicon Valleys. I was fortunate enough to get that chance to sort of rode the internet wave and both the bubble and the burst. So took a lot of learnings from that experience. Specialized in really, using technology to solve some really important world's problems and challenges that we face as a humanity.
So, as you're going down through this journey, you've seen these bubbles, you've seen these incredible upsides. How do you ride it? So, as these entrepreneurs that are out there watching this, how do you ride the wave? So when it's never, you're never really at the top, but you're never really at the bottom. How do you go down through and adjust? Because I remember being out there myself during the financial crisis, early 2000s, when the market just the bottom went out of the market, and all these companies like Pets.com, all these incredible companies were out there had started to struggle. How do you ride the ups and downs? How do you adjust to it?
Well, I think the best way to do it is, not get distracted by the ups and downs. The most important thing is, focusing on customers and solving an unmet need. And, as long as you're creating value, the larger noise around the ups and downs just tend to be in the background. It's very important that you take a problem and solve it really well. And then, you don't have to depend. I mean, the hype always works in bringing general awareness to the problem in the domain. But as we have seen, hype is always about a technology and a concept, but not about solving a real world problem. So you do take that into an account to see how it can benefit you. But ultimately, it's the ability to solve an unmet need and creating a product that drives value.
So when you went down through it, I mean, you've seen it. You were with Yahoo, right? So how was it with Yahoo? Because they had a phenomenal ride up. I mean, it's like riding a rocket ship. And how was it going up, riding that wave up? And how did the company adjust? Coming? How did those companies adjust? When they're not doing quite as well, and you got a Google coming out.
I think every company goes through that cycle. Every company has its ups and downs. I mean, I was at Yahoo during its golden years, and obviously, it is one of the best companies I worked for. I still bleed purple in many ways, as they say. And I think Yahoo was one of the pioneers when it came to figuring out how to mass distribute, high quality news and information to a larger audience. So that was its um, original value proposition anywhere. And I think to the largest extent, it still holds true. And again, it was driven by a very um, from a perspective on using technology to build products to scale. So I think fundamentally that continues to still be the core concept of Yahoo. And once you have that nailed, then you're going across looking at what is the next problem you can solve with that same model, right? So that's how those are the first generation internet companies. Of course, the technology itself has gone through multiple iterations in the last 15 to 20 years, and what we see today is phenomenal in terms of what the internet on its own has been able to achieve. It's given birth to the mobile revolution. It's given birth to the quantum computing revolution. So that's what I feel is a good company with good fundamentals, good technology can do.
So when you went down through it, I know you were an engineer, in Bangalore, and you came over to Santa Clara University, and then you went to Stanford. How did you adjust? How hard was it for these companies that are out there to be able to adjust to coming to a place like Silicon Valley, Aparna? How do they adjust, and how do they really, take advantage of it? Because it must have been a cultural shock coming in, right? From coming in, at least initially. But how do you adjust to this kind of a Silicon Valley normality?
I think in some ways I mean, I definitely felt like I don't overthink it, right? You look at the opportunities, look at what you can do, and how you can leverage the opportunities that are given to you. Some of it is basically all your skill sets. Like when I came here, I came with a certain set of skills. I was a good programmer. I knew how to program. The and internet was taking off, so it was a perfect match. I found an opportunity, I kind of dove into it, and it put me on a path to success. And in fact, I remember being one of the youngest person to have even gone into executive management. I was a director at the age of 32, leading a tech team. I think it's all about right time, right opportunity. Some of it is luck. So I feel like, but there's no dearth of it in Silicon Valley. I think I've enjoyed being here. It's as they say, it's the think tank for the world. So being in this environment, it just rubs off, the intellectual power of this location, of this geographic location, has a very profound impact on who you are and how you develop as a person.
Well, how did you change? So when now, what do you think the difference between the Silicon Valley mentality and the mentality in the rest of the world is? What is the difference? What are the differences?
Um, I think keeping an open mind. I feel like, that is the fundamental aspect of what it is, what it's like to be in Silicon Valley, right? Normally, people come up with Silicon Valley is known to come up with some crazy ideas, and taking that idea into reality is what I feel is the DNA of the geolocation here. There's no dearth of good ideas, but also there's an enough, support system, as I was saying, the ecosystem that actually can help you take that idea from a concept to reality. And that is, I don't think it's necessarily only Silicon Valley. I'm starting to see it in other parts of the world also, but it just sort of, there is a vibe here that I think is very different from what I've seen in other parts. But I'm glad to see that the rest of the world is also kind of coming onto this platform. There are a lot of great people in the world who have fantastic ideas, and those ideas need a platform. Those ideas have to come to market with good products, good solutions, and really solutions that make a profound change in human life.
Yeah, no, it's interesting because I've just recently started to hear of companies that are actually coming back to the valley that have moved out. I've heard of a couple of them recently, and then post Series A companies that are coming back over because they're looking for the talent and they can't find them in places like Miami, right? They can't find the skill sets and also the access to capital. So, do you see that? Do you feel that out there now? How does it feel today?
Um, so I think I'm a little spoiled. That's what I would say. Like, I'm used to working with the best of the best people that Silicon Valley has to offer. Even when I was in the corporate world, I had the opportunity to work with some amazingly talented people. And I don't know what is the cause and the effect. I think it's both, right? So more talented people come into the valley, it creates that environment, and that I say, has this influential effect on the others. So one begets the other. So that, I think that's what is critical. Absolutely, I think the skill level, um skill level is by far, I feel, way beyond what I've come across in other parts of the country. But nothing that makes it is no one, one size fits all approach. I've come across some amazing people in other parts of US and other parts of the world as well. So I think ideology, giving root and the foundation to an ideology is what Silicon Valley does well.
No, I agree with you. So let's talk about Zemplee. And you have this incredible idea, remote patient monitoring, working with the elderly, where we've got this. The baby boomers are now coming at age. They're starting to look at things like, how can they have a better quality of life staying in their homes? How can they get down through and have better service, right? More hyper personalized service. So when you came up with Zemplee, what was the idea behind it, and where's Zemplee today?
Well, I think the roots of Zemplee really starts with me. I became a remote caregiver for my aging parents, and my parents live in India. I live here, and one of the things that I realized was how difficult or challenging this problem is. At the end of the day, um, you love your parents, you want to do everything right by them. My dad was chronically diabetic for almost 25 years, so his health was deteriorating. And the challenge for me was how do I come up with a system that gives me the ability to keep an eye on them from where I was, but also understand the constraints of what as a solution will work, right? It will be very easy for someone to say, let's put a video camera and keep an eye on them, but upholding their personal space and dignity was critical. I mean, I didn't want to build a surveillance system. There's millions of them out there. I didn't have to do that. I wanted to build a system that was all about giving them their personal space, giving them the ability to uphold their dignity, and then still give me a way for me to kind of keep an eye out on them, check in on them once in a while to make sure they were doing okay. And I think it was an important realization that made me quit my job. I said, this is a problem for the world that has to be solved, and I was going to give it a shot. I think my original idea that I hacked together with a bunch of sensors sort of worked, and that idea became a product. Product is now a business. We have customers, we have revenues, and Zemplee is going into the growth mode. The COVID pandemic actually was a good, in some ways, an impetus for us because the world changed because of the pandemic, right? And our elderly population, as we all know, was severely affected and marginalized because of what happened with the way the health systems kind of crashed because of the pandemic. And what I'm seeing now is, there's always a phoenix that rises out of the ashes. So the industry is starting to transform, and I think that's the right signal we were looking for in order to sort of get into the growth mode. So Zemplee is in the growth mode now. We are actually starting to, get solid product market fit. And one of the things we like about the space we are in is how big an opportunity is this for us to innovate. So we come across so many challenges that our customers face, which our customers are usually providers, whether they're clinical or non-clinical caregivers, etc. And we just feel like there's so much we can do for them, so much we can do to make their job easier. And then the ultimate beneficiary of these are the elderly loved ones, and in some ways you're connected, like just like I was interested in being this better caregiver for my parents. I want to provide those tools and capabilities to other caregivers other family members who are, looking at this, staring at this, issue, and trying to figure out how to make this somewhat sustainable, right? So you know this. I mean, you were a caregiver for your dad, and when you and I kind of talked about Zemplee as a company, we sat through so many conversations figuring out, how challenging is it for a person to be caring for one.
Oh,
And
you can't imagine. You're in your dad's and your parents are in India, or your parents are in Pennsylvania. You're in California. What do? You want to be there all the time, but there's realistic scenarios of and limitations of what you can do. So having that connection point with a remote patient monitoring that it increases the quality of life. I mean, the other thing is a lot of the nursing homes, if you can keep your parents in their house longer, one is going to dramatically reduce your expenses. And
exactly, yeah.
two, the quality of care. My dad, I remember when he went to the nursing home for 2 months so I could fix his house because it needed a lot of work. He went downhill like crazy. In fact, he was like, he didn't even know who he was. Well, part of it was they gave him the medication, they gave him too much medication. We brought him home and all of a sudden he snapped back to normal. I'll never forget it. I was right there. He was like normal. Hey, son, come on in here. I want to talk to you. Let's go out and let's have a walk. Right. So I took him out and he took his wheelchair and we went out originally. Then he went to a walker. Then he started walking on his own, and those kind of things. And they said he would never, well, they said he was going to die in 7 days and he ended up living 3 years. So for all you out there, the having your parents and having tools like Zemple that can dramatically impact their quality of life and their ability to stay home or have even better care in the nursing home was just phenomenal. I mean, that's the way it's going to be because it's all about the data. What can you do to make your life better?
Exactly.
Yeah. So as you're going down through this journey, how does so you started out in the U.S. What about the rest of the world? And do people get it yet? Aparna, do they understand how important this is, or where are they in terms of their learning curve?
I think people, so there are two, I think that I would phrase the problem a little different. People understand the importance of, understand the sort of the enormity of the challenge that they are going to face, right? No caregiver goes into this thinking that this is going to be an easy cakewalk, right? Everyone sort of knows that it's going to be difficult. The only thing that you don't know is, how complex it can get over a period of time. And it's not like you can go to a school and learn these skills. You're learning on the job. Being a
Yeah.
caregiver is learning on the job. And I think that problem has sort of always been there. What I'm seeing is, people are starting to openly articulate it, right? As you know, most people kind of take it as fait accompli, right? Hey, I'm a caregiver. This is my life now. And they sort of accept it for what it is without saying, this can be better or this can be different. I can do a better
Well,
job.
they don't have time
I
to
feel like
think.
that is changing that, and that is sort of transcending into organizational level as well, right? So from a personal level, like me as a daughter taking care of my parents, to taking that now into a business or an organizational setting where a caregiver who is challenged with dealing with not just the what I call as typically you're caring for your elderly for with their activities of daily living, for example, toileting, bathing, etc. But this caregiver is now looking at the patient and saying, these people are living with so many comorbid conditions, right? So how do I, as a first responder, as a first person who is in a home trying to make this work for them, be a better caregiver, right? So that is what is changing. And I feel like caregivers have to be empowered with more tools. They work with very little information today. Everything is sort of in situation when they're seeing this. But what data can do, what AI can do is, give them that insight, give them that information to make them be a better caregiver. And I think at the end of the day, every caregiver aspires for it. They are in the job because it fulfills them in very different ways. And to make that more fulfilling is the best thing you can do. And technology can be a viable tool for that.
No, it's you're right. And it gives the quality of life a lot for the patient, makes their quality of life a lot better gives them an opportunity to be able to do things they normally wouldn't be able to do. And quite frankly, I can tell you in my dad's case, getting him out of the hospital, they said he was going to die in 7 days. They said he would never walk and talk again. And he walked and talked. And being able to spend an extra 3 years with your loved one, on the other side of it, those nursing homes are really expensive. They can cost 10, 12, $15,000 a month to put them in a nursing home. And all of a sudden, all that money that they work so hard to save, they don't have it anymore. So keeping them in their house where they can have a better quality of life and be in familiar surroundings, which helps them mentally, changes the dynamics. I know with my dad, when he was going down through his dementia, as soon as I brought him home, he wasn't like talking about crazy things. He was talking about, hey, I bought him a dog, a basset hound. Hey, where's my dog? Let's go take the dog for the walk. I want to talk to you about the yard. He wanted me to do some work in his yard. Just found like I was a kid again, to do
Yeah,
this and to do that. It brought him back. And, having those school skills. And then also in the nursing home, having those in the nursing home where it can go down through and help them to be able to have a better quality of life because it's all about the data and they got a lot of patients, right? And so, how do you make sense of what's happening with that patient?
yeah. And and you brought up a very good point, Gary. I think the thing that we all have to remember is, home is probably the most beloved asset everybody has. You've spent your life in there, you have memories associated with that, your children have grown into the home, your grandkids have played in the home. So the whole concept about, how to make your home your best sort of opportunity to live your life. I think it's important to appreciate that. And the world is changing, we are becoming more digitized, there's internet everywhere, and I feel like taking advantage of some of these available platforms and innovations that are coming to the space can get you to you use your home, transform your home into a better asset. So at Zemplee, we're all about creating your home into a digital caring environment, right? And when you in the comfort of your home, if somebody is, in this case of somebody being the technology, can be your partner in helping you live, become more independent, become more healthy, focus on your well-being, enjoy a better quality of life. I think it's the right choice to make. In fact, one should be adopting that and saying, why not, right? Like, let somebody else do the job. Let me enjoy, what I feel. Let me enjoy and let me do what I feel I should be doing. And while going what we call as hands-free mode, like delegate the care to a technology platform. We actually have providers connected to the platform, so there's the AI will sort of diagnose and provide insights, but there's always someone who's jumping in, intervening to if there's something wrong or an anomaly to address it right away. And that's the way it should be. I shouldn't be worried about my health all the time. I shouldn't be worried about. I should do what I think is right. At this phase of my life, at this time in my life, and I let somebody else take the burden of caring for me. And I think that's the transition that has to happen, and I feel like Zemply can make that happen.
No, it's great. We're coming to the top of the show, Parna. So, closing thoughts for all those startups that are around the world, and our audience. By the way, we're in 57 countries now. How do you go down through? And one is, what advice would you give to them in terms of making their dreams real? And the other thing is, what's the best way for people to get a hold of you?
Yeah, so I can answer the second question first. You can reach out to me connect with me on my Twitter, now X. Connect me with on Facebook or LinkedIn. I'm available. My name is Aparna Pujar, so you could Google me on that. What advice would I give founders? Solve a real problem, and fall in love with the problem, not the solution, because the more you this is the title of a book by Yuri Levine, and I've been reading it, which is an excellent book, by the way. I think when you look at a problem and go deep into it and try to solve it in the best possible way, like really outperform on solving it, that gives you a strong foothold, that makes you carve out a niche for yourselves, and while you're doing that, the other things will fall in place. I would also say, not be it's hard for a startup initially. You are doing this, not be a Swiss army knife, like be everything for everyone, pick one problem and solve it really well. There is opportunities will emerge. The more you deep dive into the problem, you kind of start looking at the space in a very different way with a very different lens. um, Keep an eye on the competition, but I wouldn't so much worry about it. If you're on the right track, somehow that will fall in place. Management principles, I strongly believe in the Porter model, so I've always used that as my guideline for how to build products, how to bring them to market, what does it take, how to find your customers, how to find your partners, how to find the ecosystem. So I sort of depend on that as my just rule book, if you will. But yeah, other than that, your passion and belief in yourselves is what will drive this.
No, thank you for taking time. It's great seeing you today. We appreciate it. And thanks to all my audience for joining one more time. GSD presents Silicon Valley AI and Tech. And I'm your host, Gary Fowler. Stay
Thank you
happy,
all. Bye.
stay safe, and stay healthy. And I'll be back to you again soon. Thank you, partner. Thanks, everybody. We'll be back again soon. Thank you.
Bye. Thank you.